What's going on, everyone? This is Oscar Moneyball bringing you your favorite Liga MX match projections using my match simulator. Let's get this thing started. I'm super excited to bring you guys this content based off my data that I've been collecting from the Apertura leading on to the Clausura. We're in match week 10, so we're going to be using, as I mentioned, my match simulator to bring you guys the best projections possible for whatever your needs are, whether you're betting, whether you just like data analytics, or whatever the case may be. I can't find this type of content on the internet, so I decided I'd make it myself. I'm sure there's people out there that would appreciate this type of content and are in data analytic world just as much as I am. So shout out to all of you that are. Taking a sip of our coffee before we get started, and let's transition to the match simulator results. Awesome. Alright, well, during the midweek we had two games. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record in the middle of the week, but we had the Tigres versus Juarez, Tigres at home versus Juarez away, and Tijuana at home versus Monterey away. We had a result of 1-0 in favor for Tigres versus Juarez and a 1-1 tie between Tijuana and Monterey. And as you can see here, based off our results that I'm going to highlight at this second, we're able to see that Tigres was in favor to win this game 2-0 with the win probability of 66% versus 12% for Juarez. So Tigres was highly favored for this game. Juarez has been struggling the entire Clausura season and hasn't been able to score much, especially versus Tigres, who's a very, very strong team at home. It was expected. So with the over 0.5, we had an 83% for Tigres to score at least one goal, and the over 1.5 was at a 58%. I'm sure Tigres had their chances. I didn't really watch the game, but as you can see here, it wasn't really expected for Tigres to score that second goal despite our spreadsheet saying that it would be 2-0. One of my rule of thumbs with my match simulators is that I always give it a plus or minus one goal on these results. Obviously things could happen, mistakes can happen, a VAR, handball, penalty, whatever, and that's pretty much where I'd like to be with these. Let's go on to the second match of the week, which was the Tijuana versus Monterey. We see here that we can expect a 0.9 versus 1.3 scoreline between both of these teams. Tijuana at home tends to be a little bit stronger than an away Tijuana. They have that advantage of playing on the turf, and a lot of teams seem to have a hard time playing there. The win probability for this match was 25% in favor of Tijuana versus the 47% in favor of Monterrey. As you can see here, the spread is a lot bigger for the draw, which was the result. A Joe Corona goal to tie the game at a very, at a very low probability XG. That shot was from maybe about 25 yards out, and it was a banger. It wasn't top corner or anything, but bottom right for the keeper. Beautiful goal. Love to see that from Joe Corona, who's back in the Liga MX. Anyways, moving on. The over 0.5 for both of these teams were at a 58% versus 73% for Monterrey, and the over 1.5 dramatically falls from their percentages to 22% and 37% for the away team. That takes us on to the games coming up this weekend. Starting on Friday, in my match simulator here, we have match 3, which will be these games right here. We see San Luis hosting Puebla with a 1.9 to 1.2 scoreline. The win probability for this match is in favor of the home team with 53% versus Puebla's 47%. Wow, it's going to be a really even game. The over 0.5 and the over 1.5 tend to be they vary a lot, but I do think San Luis can pull that over 1.5, especially because they just came from losing. They scored a late goal, and they're at home. They're very strong at home. Not very, very strong, but they tend to get positive results at home consistently. Puebla do seem to have they do seem to have a very, very bad squad, very, very bad season so far, and maybe they're gonna park the bus. San Luis is a team that for sure is gonna be in the top 8, possibly top 4, maybe not so much now with the teams that are up there leading the table, but I do think San Luis is a very, very tough team. They seem to have a very tough start of the season. Maybe they're trying something new. They do not have that squad depth, but they have strong players and a very, very strong coach that can lead them to some positive results. The next match on Friday will be a Querétaro Santos match. Now Querétaro at home, man, they know exactly what they need to be doing at home. They're very, very strong. They've been getting some positive results at home, and now that they have their fan base being able to go to their matches, which has been going on for maybe about a season or two. I don't remember exactly when that ban was taken away, but they seem to be a very strong team. That coach tends to park the bus really, really well on playoff counterattacks. As you can see, that's exactly what they did midweek on Tuesday versus San Luis. They were able to win 3-1, and I expect them to do exactly the same. I don't know if they'll be able to score that many goals versus Santos. Santos do have a leaky defense, but they have a lot of young talent. A lot of young talent that can outrun a lot of these older veterans that are playing the Querétaro squad. So it's going to be basically a game that's going to be youth versus a lot of veterans that know exactly what they're playing for. Santos is still trying to find themselves, I believe, and I don't know. We'll see what we have here. Obviously, the edge on all these percentages is in favor of Santos. Rounded up, the scoreline for this match is a 1.5 versus 1.5 between both of these. I do think there could be goals in this game. Definitely over 1.5 goals, as this Santos team is very young and very offensive. They tend to forget about defending, and they're an all-out attack team, which plays perfectly for the Querétaro match, where they just counter, with Santos having a very leaky defense. As I said, soccer is an unpredictable sport, so we could expect some goals here. 35% win probability for the home team versus a 39% win probability for the away team. The over 0.5 for both of these teams is at a very high percentage, 76% for the home team, 78% for the away team, and the over 1.5 isn't that bad. It's a 42 versus 45%. I know based off some of these results that you've already seen on this spreadsheet, that isn't that high, but I mentioned I believe this will be a very high scoring game, especially being a Friday match. Need some entertainment on Friday. The following match is Mazatlán versus Necaxa. Necaxa, wow, Necaxa, you've been surprising all of us. You've been very, very talented this season. Been able to get some decent results. They lost barely to America, although America dominated. They were able to beat Chivas at home, but Necaxa is away, and their luck may not be so favorable. Who knows? The match still has to play out, but they're going to be playing versus Mazatlán. Mazatlán is at home, and based off the score sheet, the score line here, the predicted score, we see a 1.5 versus 1.2 in favor of Mazatlán. The win probability also in favor of Mazatlán. Over 0.5 goals for both of these teams. We're averaging out of maybe about 74% between both of them, and the over 1.5 in maybe the 40% range. So I don't know what to say about this. Necaxa games don't tend to see the over 2.5 goals. I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, they do. But they're very solid. They're very solid, and away, I think they need to be able to take some points. So even if they walk away with one, or if they walk away with all three, that's exactly what Necaxa is playing for. Mazatlan is bottom of the table, and they have a great squad. Very young, although they don't have a really good system of what they're playing, what type of soccer they're playing. They have a very strong player called Amarillo or something like that. I only know that because I've been seeing him on the highlights consistently scoring, and this fucker scored 2 goals against my America, so excuse the language. Moving on to the next game, we have Toluca versus Tigres. Toluca playing on Saturday. That takes away from their home field advantage completely, as they're a team that likes to play midday at Sunday at the hottest temperature that Mexico City has to offer. They have high elevation. You know, the players, away teams tend to struggle there because of the elevation, as I mentioned. So Toluca is in favor to win this game, 1.4 to 1.2. Win probability 42% versus 32%. The over 0.5 is 76% versus 70. 42% versus 34% for the over 1.5. This match can go anyway. Tigres, I do believe, have a game midweek for the Conca Champions. Toluca is just playing their normal tournament, I believe, and yeah, they got eliminated from the Conca Champions. So Toluca has a strong team, not as strong. I don't think they're like gonna be a title contender, but they can sneak away some goals. Tigres is kind of finding themselves these past couple of weeks. They're rotating players. Nico Ibanez has been doing great, but the coach seems to not be able to understand whether he wants to start Nico, bench Gignac, start Gignac, bench Nico. There's a dynamic there that isn't working out exactly the way they plan, although they tend to get the result, but they seem to be struggling on their way to get that result. Away, Tigres, still a very strong team. You know, they just played the final. They can't take away what they've been doing, so it could go either way here. Cruz Azul versus Guadalajara. We have a very, very entertaining match. Now, based off what I know about the team strength and the previous results, Cruz Azul at home, they didn't tend to do that good versus America. Cruz Azul was away. America was able to score like 5 goals in the first 30 minutes of the match. Although most of them were offsides, it still shows that Cruz Azul still has a lot to work on, whether they're getting positive results or not. I think it's sort of a spike up in their median regression. I do believe that at some point we'll start to see Cruz Azul start to lose some points. I don't think it'll be in this match, but Guadalajara has, they lost against Necaxa. They did win against Pumas. Guadalajara is a very strong team at the moment. They're on fire. They're finding their rotation. I'm not sure if Chicharito Hernandez will be playing this match, but regardless, I do think this will be a spectacular game to watch, as the America Cruz Azul game was. I don't know what to say. We do see here that it's very even with a 1.3 versus 1.2 goal line for this match, score line, whatever you want to call it. The win probability is off by 1% between both teams. Over 0.5 is at a 70% even for both of them. It seems to be that both of these teams, based off Cruz Azul's home form and Guadalajara's away form, seem to balance each other off. Who knows? One thing I recommend for this match, for those of you that are interested in predicting and betting some money on this, would be see what their match history has been between both of these teams in the previous 3 to 4 years, and see what the results have been. If it's been, both teams score, maybe that's the bet. Maybe over 1.5, maybe over the 2.5. If you see that maybe Guadalajara has been winning the games, 1-0, 1-0, 1-1, 2-0, something like that. You see that pattern, be under, try to cover yourself. Regardless, we're moving on. Pachuca versus Juarez. Pachuca has demonstrated to be a very strong team. They were able to beat America a couple weeks ago. That game, I did watch it, and maybe I am biased because I am an America fan. I don't know if Pachuca deserved to win. They scored more goals. I don't know if they're really that team, we should be giving them the flowers that they're receiving this season. Regardless, I like watching them play. I think they have a very young team. Me being part of the Ajax scouting network, they are part of our network. I do see a lot of talent. Historically, Pachuca has produced a lot of talent, and I think Almeida has been able to bring in that youth to a squad that needs it, isn't afraid of cutting players that aren't really at par, giving a lot of opportunity to the younger players and just rotating them consistently. And we're starting to see a pattern of young players that are being able to play at this level. Pachuca is in favor to win this match. As I said, Juarez has been struggling all season. Pachuca will be at home. We see a 1.9 versus 1.1. Win probability is at a 54% versus Juarez's 21%. Over 0.5 is at 82% for Pachuca versus 65% for Juarez. Over 1.5 is at a 55% for Pachuca. Now we gotta measure what Juarez just did midweek. They did visit potentially one of the strongest teams at home, which was Tigres midweek. They have 2 away games back-to-back in the same week. So you got to realize that these guys were able to play a team that's really, really high and kind of keep them. Juarez needs to scrape points, right? So whether they take away 1 point or 3, that's their game. They don't really care. They're just there for the opportunity and try to seize the moment. One thing I tend to see is when teams play a very, very strong team, and then they play that next match, they tend to have this sense of confidence of, hey, we were able to do this versus Tigres, why can't we do this versus Pachuca? Pachuca, although they're a strong team this season, they're the talk of the town, and they're getting a lot of flowers, they're getting a lot of praise. This is one of the matches where I think could be a surprise. One of those that will ruin parlays, one of those that absolutely will just maybe potentially destroy. In that case, I could see both teams scoring. I could see double chance Juarez. I could see over 2.5. If Pachuca really wants to win this game, they're going to have to score 2. They're going to have to do more than Tigres, and that's to score 2 goals. So we'll see how it goes. The next match, Atlas versus America. There's something about Atlas that I have this bittersweet thing. This is just me personally speaking. I'm from Guadalajara and I'm an America fan, so I can't be a Chivas fan. So Atlas is my family's, that's my, if I were to pick a team from Guadalajara, it'd be Atlas. I'm not an Atlas fan, but they're fucking boring. Sorry, excuse the language. They're very, very boring to watch. Historically, Atlas tends to compete very well against America, whether it's home or away. Atlas does have a very, very strong keeper. I think we forget that they probably have one of the best keepers in the Liga MX. Maybe not throughout this season or last season, but their keeper is top notch. As you can see, the score line for this game is 0.7 versus 1 goal exactly. The win probability is 24% versus 42%. Over 0.5 is 45% versus 62%. Over 1.5 is really low. Sorry again, language. Over 1.5 goes to 16% versus 25%. Atlas is a team that historically plays the under 2.5, under 3.5, depending on the opponent that they're playing. I do think that they're going to do everything in their power to hold America off. America does have a very tough game coming up midweek versus Chivas. I think they're going to be playing them like back to back. You know, it's one of those things that we love to watch. It's super entertaining versus Chivas. So if America were to win a match, because they have a very tough schedule following up, me being a coach, having that coach mindset, this would be the game that I need to win no matter what, because these next 3 matches are going to be very, very tough. Is Atlas that team that will allow it? Atlas probably is aware of America's situation. Hey, they're going to be tough. Maybe this is the opportunity for us to blow, blah, blah, blah. This could be an entertaining game, although Atlas games don't tend to be that entertaining. Either way, I'll be watching it. That's my team, and I'm going to be rooting for America to take that dub. We'll see how that one goes. Monterey versus Pumas. I think this will be a very, very entertaining match for the Sunday lineup. Monterey playing on a Sunday tends to be a little off par from what they do. They're a team that plays on Saturdays, and even though they have, you know, my simulation doesn't have that they play on Saturdays, we see here that a 1.6 versus 0.8 in favor for the home team. The win probability is at a 55% versus 19. That tends to leave about 30% up in the air for the draw. It could go both ways. Over 0.5, obviously Monterrey has the edge there at home with a very strong offensive squad with 78%, 55% for the away team. Ooh, gotta sneeze. See if I can get it to go away. Anyways, over 1.5 is at a 46% versus 20%. Again, tend to see the history between these two teams, how they play, what the results have been when they play against each other. That'll kind of give you the best edge on what you want to go with this bet or whatever. I mean, we're just using our data to predict these matches, plus or minus 1 goal. I don't know. I don't think it'll be that much different for Monterrey playing on Saturday. They'll have that extra day of they did play midweek. Tough game against Tijuana on a turf field. Pumas is very strong. They're not very strong, but they're a good team. They did lose away against Chivas. I do seeing the power that Chivas have versus Monterrey, and if Chivas were able to do that, I do think maybe Monterrey can score a goal in the first half to show their dominance at home. That could kind of play out throughout the match. It could just be 1-0 throughout for a while. Maybe a late goal for Pumas to tie it up near the end. Maybe a 2-0 for Monterrey near the end. I do think Monterrey need to score early so they can kind of be in control of the match. We'll see how that game goes. Regardless, I do think Monterrey will win this match. Pumas is going to take L back-to-back away. You know, even though they played Chivas isn't that of much of a parameter. Although they're great, they're not Monterrey. Tano Ortiz is a great coach. You know, he coached America, and he has an even better squad in Monterrey than he did in America. And so Pumas, I believe Pumas will lose this game. The last match for the Sunday lineup is Tijuana versus León at home. We have here a 1.7 versus 1.2, rounded up to 1.3. The win probability is in favor for Tijuana with 44% versus the 30% for León. The over 0.5 is at a 75% versus 70%, 45% versus 35%. I'm excited. These games on Sunday could be very entertaining. León is a dynamic squad. Federico Viñas, I love that dude. Tijuana at home tend to be very strong. One note about Tijuana is that they haven't been able to score from inside the 18-yard box all season, except the game versus San Luis. And versus the game versus San Luis, they were able to score 3 goals inside the 18-yard box. Outside of that, a big majority of their goals have been from outside the box. If Tijuana is able to penetrate León, penetrate León's defense and get inside, take a shot, Carlos Gonzalez, Efrain, I forgot, Velasquez. I do think Miguel Herrera is a great coach. He knows how to play these tough teams. He doesn't have that depth in Tijuana to give him a lot of these results, but León isn't that great of a team. They definitely aren't Monterey. And one thing I mentioned earlier is Tijuana at home played Monterey, a very, very strong team. León is not that strong. I do think we could see a Tijuana maybe winning this game. The confidence is there for this team. Hey, we just fucking tied the first place team. That's big props for Miguel Herrera and the Tijuana squad. Can they repeat that or do better versus León? We'll see. León did have all week to rest. Tijuana does have that home field advantage. A lot of teams tend to struggle, even the best. We'll see how that goes, but let's see. Oh, sorry. Let's go here. Alright, everybody. Well, there you have it. These were my match predictions for the Jornada 10. Take another sip of coffee. Really excited for those of you that stuck around. I love making this content. Hopefully I can get into some consistency to deliver this type of content. I will be making more videos for the Premier League, perhaps the Eredivisie, and for sure the MLS. I'm working on that match simulator spreadsheet. It's too early. It's the first week. Probably wait out until week 4, week 5. I will probably make some videos on me building that spreadsheet for those that are interested on the type of data that goes behind here. And thank you so much for watching. I will leave my team strength model here. Give me 1 second. Excuse my dogs barking. They're probably not going to start barking for a while. This is the team strength home and away form. Take a screenshot. But regardless, thank you so much for the support. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Cheers.